live. Yeah, we going live. Hey, we going live. Yeah, we going live. Yeah, we going. Yeah, we going. Yeah, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line. Hey.
Hello, beautiful people.
Hello.
I am Jarrett, the football G Burgess.
And I am Stephanie Fitzpatrick, aka the Advantage Coach.
This is episode 116 of the Fields to the Real podcast. I was about to say project.
Okay, God. We'll take that too. That means we're going to be moving that along.
You said right. You trying to tell us something?
Thank you.
It's been a lot this last, I guess, week going on in sports. With the WNBA, with the NBA, conference finals.
Yep. The NIL.
The NIL, yes.
And then the NCAA coming out and saying, like, all right, they get to do what they want to do.
Right. Yeah. Reluctantly.
That's why I said it like I did. All right. Yes.
We'll let y'all make a little money.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I guess we read about this week that was, I guess, kind of bittersweet.
Yeah.
Was, and would you guess that the hiring of Black coaches would be bittersweet when this is like one of the things that we've been asking for? But I guess the bittersweet part is that, or the bitter part of this bittersweet is that we don't get to celebrate it the way that we want to because of the controversy surrounding their hires.
Yes.
So we'll start with Chauncey Billups, who was just hired as the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to make, I guess, this one, who's really right. Do you have a problem with how the Trailblazers handled the situation around Chauncey Billups hiring?
First, you got to tell people, you got to give backstory.
Yeah. Okay. So the backstory of this is that, in 1997, Chauncey Billups was accused of sexual assault. I don't think it said rape, but I think it was just sexual assault. He was accused. I don't know how. Obviously, he wasn't prosecuted.
No, it says he was accused of rape.
Okay, it was rape. Okay.
Yes.
Obviously, he wasn't convicted criminally. But
he was never charged with a crime. Not even convicted. He was never charged with the crime.
So he was just accused of rape and was never charged.
Never charged with the crime.
Well, so in the civil case, was it that he was still? How did that work?
It just said that they reached an agreement, a financial settlement with her.
Okay, because
him and his teammate.
She was going to do a civil trial, or she was going to do a
civil
route.
Yeah, and they just reached a settlement not to have it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They saw OJ. Oh. Yeah.
So, because of this, now some, 24, 25 years later, this is coming up as he gets his job. And so the Portland Trailblazers, one of the things that they did was they made sure they let people know who they were going to be interviewing for this coaching position. One of their names they threw out was Becky Hammon. Only Becky Hammon never got that interview, and they ended up just hiring Chauncey Billups. And then at the press conference announcing Chauncey Billups, the GM and president basically said that they had conducted their own investigation into the allegations, and from their findings, they felt confident in hiring Chauncey Billups. But they wouldn't give what those findings were, and that's what people had a problem with.
Mm-hmm.
So, given all of those things, did you have a problem with how they handled the hiring of Chauncey Billups?
No,
Okay.
I did not. And the reason I didn't is twofold, right? One, he was never charged with a crime back then. Okay, so let's just talk about this. He's a Black man. We already know. If there was even a slight inkling
right,
that it was true, he would have been charged, right? We saw this with Kobe, right? So,
right,
I feel like he'd already been vetted at that point in my mind, right? Like, the fact that you weren't charged, I know we talked about this in our production meeting, the fact that he settled with her, people will always have that sliver of, then you did something kind of, then you were trying to cover it up, you were just trying to hush her up. But I offered a perspective that perhaps he just didn't want to have to keep dealing with it.
Right.
It was 3 years later. It was in 2000 when they settled with her. So we still talking 3 years later, we still dealing with this, right?
Right.
The man was dating his now wife then, when all of this happened. So he could have just been like, you know what? I don't want to keep dragging this out. I don't want this to be something we have to keep dealing with. I'm just offering another alternative to why he spent his money to just move things along with her, right?
Right.
But more than that, like, this man has been a assistant coach with the Clippers. He's been offered opportunity. I think he was a broadcaster for a while.
He's on TV.
Offered multiple opportunities through NBA organizations, other businesses, TV networks, all of this kind of stuff. You trying to tell me none of those people vetted him either? Because they all had to have the same idea that if this comes back to bite us, so let us do our own due diligence. And so for him to have to be prosecuted for a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th time over something that he never was charged with in the beginning. Right. It is. So I'm with the way that the Trailblazers handled this, because it was, you just have to trust that we did what we were supposed to do. And let's be clear, he didn't just say, trust us in what we're saying. He said we vetted because we took it seriously. And so the fact that they said we took it seriously, and they went and actually spent money to have this investigation for the 10th time to prove the same thing that was, you know what I mean, has been said all along. Because Chauncey's always said it was not that they didn't have sex, it was consensual. Right. And so if that's the case, and they've been able to prove that over and over and over again, they shouldn't have to keep talking about, why keep beating a dead horse? And so I'm with them. Listen, we did our due diligence, just like all these other 10 people did theirs back when they were looking to bring him on. And so now we just gonna move on, because opening it up and talking about it only gives people access to pick and nitpick and make it. So I agree. Just, it's a nice, neat box. It's closed. It's done. We did what we were supposed to do. We good. Right. That's how I see it.
I think that the public, quote unquote, outcry is the reason why I feel like the way that they handled it just wasn't the greatest. You know, I think when you consider all of those things, like making sure you added Becky Hammond's name to the list of people you were going to interview, to not interviewing her, and bringing in, bringing in Chauncey Billups, which upon first glance was like, oh wow, like you got 2 Black coaches hired this this week. But I think the Trailblazers stance shouldn't have been, oh, we did this investigation, trust us, right? Because you can say that you did the investigation and you never did.
And that's possible.
But if you felt like we're going to hire him regardless and he was never charged of a crime, then that was the statement that you should have come out and made.
Okay.
This man was never charged of a crime. Yeah.
Right.
But to say that we did an investigation, so if you did an investigation, right, and looking at the investigations of some of these teams, they're a bit sketchy because we saw what happened with the whole Ray Rice situation and how the NFL and the Ravens fumbled it and failed all parties involved.
Yeah.
You can't mention making, because you're telling us by not telling us, right? If you tell us just trust us, basically you're saying that your investigation uncovered that, he didn't do anything illegal, and that the sex was consensual. How did you come to that? Did you speak to the victim?
Why do they have to do that? Oh.
Well, so the thing is that you don't have to answer those questions if you never mention anything about the investigation. Because by saying that,
never said anything.
They should have never mentioned an investigation.
But somebody was gonna bring it up.
Well, and that's when you could have stood by the statement. He was never charged,
right,
or convicted of a crime, right? Yeah. And I think that's the stance they should have taken, instead of let me halfway pacify the folks who aren't going to be believers. Because by halfway pacifying them, you really didn't pacify anybody. Like, you just added more questions. Right. So now we're to assume that he didn't do what he was accused of. But you can't just come out and say that now, because you committed to doing this investigation. And what could end up happening is what's happening with Charlamagne right now. The accuser is now having her voice heard with Charlamagne. Now, if this woman comes up and say that, well, I was never interviewed during this investigation, like, how is this a thorough investigation? Now, how does that make you look as an organization?
Right. Well, okay, I'm not even going. All right.
So it's just, I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like, for PR's sake, they could have just left that out there. They could have left it out of there, like, that we did an investigation.
Yeah, I think I get that part. That part. Just don't even mention it if you're not gonna be. I mean, I still don't feel like they had to be transparent. Like, I don't know, when did we get in this? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's reality TV that makes us think we're supposed to be in everybody's business all the time. Like, because when did we get there? Like,
social media.
Understand. Like, what is this? Like, what? Like, how? So, yeah, it's just, they say it's opaque versus transparency. I think that's funny. And like, I think one of the things that the owner said was, it's the information, because the questions were things like, who conducted the interview? Who did they talk to? Those kind of things. And he said that's proprietary information. Like, it's none about who we hired to do it. Just know it got done, and I don't know, because how do we know that firm even wants to be recognized? Because that's how they conduct their business. They might need to stay under the table. I'm just saying. I'm not into, I don't watch reality TV, so I don't listen, my business is enough. I do not have time for anybody else's business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that's why I'm of the mindset that I'm in with this, because I'm like, fine, yeah, okay, you can, I don't know how thorough, how not thorough it was, but shoot, if in these other 10, somebody ain't caught it, then maybe it didn't happen.
Yeah.
He didn't get, the fact that he didn't get charged in the first place speaks volumes to me.
Mm-hmm.
But just say, because we live in a misogynistic world, right? He was a superstar, that he was just getting in the NBA. You know, maybe somebody was doing some cooking, but these 10 other people that had to vet this man along the way hadn't found anything.
Well, so the thing that makes it difficult, right, with stuff like this is that we see evidence of, or maybe we don't see any evidence, but you hear someone like Bill Cosby, right? Harvey Weinstein, Roman Polanski, and some of these guys who, you know, commit these crimes,
or allegedly do.
Allegedly, that's what, yeah. Because I certainly mean allegedly. Because the point of what I'm saying is that a lot of the times we don't know if these guys did it or not, because they're only allegations, and unless you were in the room, it's hard to prove whether it was consensual or not.
This is not bashing of rape victims.
Right.
Let's put that out there. This is not us bashing rape victims in this situation, because they shouldn't have to prove if somebody did something to them. So let's start with that.
Right.
But we also have to be aware that there are people who allege rape and it's not rape.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's difficult to understand or to take one view, because I can look at it as, well, he wasn't charged and he wasn't convicted of a crime. But then you also hear stories of how rape is very hard to prove.
Exactly. And
so
that's why I figured it. Yeah.
You're stuck in this limbo of, okay, did he do it? Did he not do it?
Right.
And usually where people fall at is, you know, if it's someone that you like, you're more apt to believe that
they didn't do it.
They didn't do it, right? And if it's somebody that you don't necessarily care for, you're more apt to believe that they probably did it.
That's why we saw Kobe move on with his career. We see Ben Roethlisberger moving on with his career.
Exactly.
People like him.
And right. So it's like you can never tell. It's hard. Like, only the people who were there actually know what happened. And it's hard to, like, even try to discuss or weigh in on these situations. And so that's why, to me, to get back to my original point, it doesn't even make sense to say that you did an investigation. Because really, what were you going to uncover in the investigation that yeah, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, no, I agree with that part. I do. Yeah. I agree. It's not even either A, you don't do it, or B, you don't say you did it. It just go about your business. Like that part. I agree with that. But since you did say it and you did bring it up, I don't feel like you still. So that's the who's really right part, right? Did they handle this correctly?
Right.
So I kind of see your point in that respect. If we're gonna talk about it and just say don't bring it up at all. But if we're gonna say, well, you brought it up, so you gotta dispel everything, that's where I'm like, no, we don't. No, we don't. If you ain't been able to read about all these other investigations, why do we have to? Like, what? Huh? So, yeah, I just, I think so. That's where my stance on it comes from, is the point of, if we're going to just talk about the facts that are in front of us, that they did it, They did it. We can't take it back. We can't get them the so they did it. So the fact that you did it and you came out and you said, we did it, but that's it. Just trust us. I'm okay with it. And you're not. That's basically where we are.
Right, yeah. About to say that's what it boils down to.
That's basically where the difference comes from. And you're not.
Right.
So who's really right?
Yeah, y'all let us know who you think is really right.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of just a toss up.
It is. It is.
All about
it's just really where you are and personally how you feel. Some personal experiences come into this play when it comes to this type of situation. So that's always going to be something. And again, full disclosure, neither one of us is saying that it is okay to get away.
Yeah.
We're not even discussing the actual allegation from that standpoint. We just talked about it to help you understand where we were. All we are really talking about here is what the Trailblazers did.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
No, because I'm not down with nobody taking nothing that don't belong to you.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
All right, let us know who's really right.
Now put the cameras on me, 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 put the cameras on me.